Welcome back to our channel. We want to thank you for joining. The bottom line is clear. Africa is feeling the heat, and the continent of Africa has come to the realization that something is not right somewhere. That's the reason why they are trying to go back to history and reinvigorate themselves and figure out how they all found themselves in this particular situation. It is interesting to know that the countries across the Sahel have ignited a sense of nationalism and to move forward to drive and charter a new part in their history. This does not sit well across Africa's geopolitical partners, especially those across the Sahel region. Talking about Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, and a whole lots of other countries that have experienced imperialistic approach and behavior over their history. Why are things changing across the Sahel, especially in the country of Burkina Faso, that the pushback has galvanized, has energized, has informed, and also created incredible awareness around the world? This is important because the people of Burkina Faso have a history that informs them, that they have sensed it. They have been in situations like this before, so they understand if they see the environment is murky, is kerning, it's not direct, it's not open, that condescending comment and name calling, these are preparation in regards to issues that has happened in the past. Geopolitics is a brutal game, and the continent of Africa has come to realize that it has to stand up and make sure that it is aware on what's happening across international capitals. That's the reason why we see experts around the world, those that you would not imagine, in different quarters, coming up, bringing the Burkina Faso issues and the conversation across the Sahel into global media. That's the reason why Africa has paid attention, is asking questions not just from the United Nations or across its strategic engagement. More importantly, the United States has taken a backseat at this critical time in Africa's emergence and growth. That's the reason why countries like Burkina Faso, Niger, Mali are breaking away from the status quo and at the moment are charting a new path in their history. For that reason, it has galvanized around the world as you see experts, former members of parliament coming out clear and questioning what's happened in regards to the strategic engagement with the country of Burkina Faso. Mr. Galloway, if you all know who he is, a former parliamentarian who came out clear in the geopolitical discussions and questioned that particular meeting that the United States of America's General African had with the United States of America's Senate at the United States of America. In regards to that, according to his own perspective, he reviewed that particular back and forth and questioned why the United States of America's own interests all of a sudden should get worried on why Burkina Faso should make use of its own particular resources. Let's listen to what he has to say, and we will dive into more global perspective on the reason why this is not going anywhere soon. Let's play the clip.
Who better to provide fresh thinking and analysis on the role of America in the world, particularly in Africa, than the one and only Nico House, our regular political commentator and founder of the MCSC News Network. Nico, I really wanted to talk to you this week because it's a difficult subject, this, for me as a white man to raise. But I saw this House Negro head of AFRICOM, a black African American, threaten to kill the great leader of Burkina Faso, Captain Ibrahim Traore. And it made me so mad I reached out for Nico House for a point of view on it. Did you see it? And what do you think of it?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, let me say congratulations, George, on all the success that you've been having. It's well deserved. I mean, from the guests to the topics that you cover, I feel like it's not really that many people giving so much diversity. And I know that Piers Morgan is trying his best to copy you, but you know, it doesn't quite hit the same when you're not as dedicated to the truth as a presenter as you are. So let me just say congratulations on that. And yeah, absolutely. I saw Langley's comments about Ibrahim, how he's supposedly using the gold reserves to provide his own private security. And let me just say, first of all, that's not true. Second of all, if it was true, let's be honest, wouldn't it be somewhat justified considering the fact that they continue to make attempts on his life? I mean, they just recently made another failed attempt on his life. That's probably why they're upset and why they're now going out of their way to bring it to the attention of the national public, to try and create this narrative, not unlike what we saw happen with Libya and Gaddafi, because Ibrahim has had that type of impact in West Africa when we're talking about not only uplifting Burkina Faso, but then uniting West African countries like Mali and Niger so that they can combat Western imperialism and the NATO allies that try to oppress them.
Well, that's right. His own bodyguards were offered $5 million to kill him. Now, it's no coincidence that the money involved was dollars. The United States and France are determined to do to Captain Traore what they did to so many others. In Burkina Faso, to the great Thomas Sankara, in the Congo, to the great Patrice Lumumba, and so many other leaders that they have dispensed with extreme prejudice because their own interests were threatened by an African leader who's actually governing in the interests of his own people and not of the empire.
Yep. I mean, this is a guy in Ibrahim Traore who wears the same uniform every single day. Not fancy suits, just a casual military uniform. He has no type of luxury. No one in the government is permitted to live any type of luxury. You know what he has done with the gold in Burkina Faso? What he's done is nationalize 2 gold mines that would have otherwise been sold for actually far less than what they're making after he nationalized it. That money is going towards the people. And the reason that no one in the government is allowed to live a life of luxury is because until the people of Burkina Faso can live that type of lifestyle, legally, without corruption, then he believes that no one in Burkina Faso should be allowed to live that type of luxury, especially members of the government. He has created a tomato processing facility that's doing very well for the agriculture there. I mean, just over the last couple of years, he's made so many positive changes, and it's all come from internal nationalized movement. And by the way, has been able to do this while Ukraine and Zelensky, on the other hand, of course, with the help of the United States, have been trying to train terrorists to fight the military of Burkina Faso, because France couldn't do so and were kicked out after they tried to, they threatened Burkina Faso after Ibrahim took over, but it didn't work out, just like it didn't work out in Niger. And even though they've been combating terrorism that has been brought about by the United States and helped and funded by Ukraine, Zelensky actually bragged about training terrorists actually recently. He's still been able to carry out these economic measures to help the people of Burkina Faso, and it's been so inspirational. I think that, honestly, George, has been the scariest part. It's not just the success. If he was merely successful, then he would be a problem, and maybe it would be an isolated problem. They would probably try to take him out quietly, because we know they've done that with actually a lot of African leaders over the last maybe 6 or 7 years. They've taken them out quietly. But they're trying to make an example of Ibrahim, because Ibrahim has been so impactful as an inspiration to the rest of Africa. And they're worried that, especially in the current state of the world, that other African nations are going to realize they don't need the West. And I saw your quote. I saw your quote getting passed around on Instagram, actually. There were different reactions to it. And I said, I know, George, and I know exactly what he's trying to say. He's trying to say, believe in your own self-determination and be willing to fight the fight. Do not trade in your values or undersell yourself or your potential for these Western values that are just a facade. They're fugazi. They don't really exist. Africans have so much potential. They're so naturally good at everything. I mean, whether it comes to engineering, medicine, anything in between, they do so much more with much less. That how can you not believe in your own potential? And I was telling people, I'm like, he's telling Africans, don't sell yourself short. And I understand how the message can, be received the wrong way because of you being white. But I was saying it doesn't matter if he's white. He's telling the truth, because I know other Africans like David Huyeden, who reports from Nigeria, who feel exactly the same way.
It is picking up steam. You cannot question this because the history was about to repeat itself. That's the reason why, if you all hear the commotion, the moment, the motivation, the condescending, the refusal to back down in regards to this particular issue in terms of Burkina Faso, this will go a long way to remind Africa's geopolitical partner, those that do not have a genuine interest in the continent, that it will not be business as usual, that these countries are aware their nationals, their citizens that previously could be deceived very easily, may not understand the geostrategic engagement, how it impacts their economy, their development and growth in several areas. They have come to the realization.
Yeah, I mean, what I was saying is that you're being foolish sending your children to study in the United States. Not least because there's a very high chance that if they say or think the wrong thing, they'll be picked up on the street and unceremoniously deported. Why send your children to the United States? Build up your own universities. Get leaders that are ready to build up their own educational system. Captain Traore just abolished all education fees this week. Now it's free for every child in Burkina Faso to go to nursery, primary, secondary and university. Free of
And they have their uniforms. They have their uniforms and their supplies provided to them.
Exactly. And the school lunch thrown in. None of which we've got, by the way, in Britain, and definitely none of which you've got in the United States. So, you know, that's my message. However, people have decided to take it. We stand, as Malcolm said, for justice, whoever it's for and whoever it's against. And we make no distinction of color or race or creed in that.
If, for example, the country of Jamaica of all, one of the greatest nations in the world that is known despite its challenges, has come out clear and paying attention in regards to the continent of Africa, it means this is not going to go anywhere soon. With regards to Jamaica, we see demonstrations all over the place, as we see at the moment. Experts in that region, local people, very concerned with what is going on between the United States of America's administration's comment, looking at the General Mr. Langley's comment in regards to Burkina Faso's president at the moment, and why this does not sit well in the country of Jamaica. That's why you hear things like this coming out from the country of Jamaica. Let's play the clip.
My name is Priest Wesley Kelly. I'm the high priest for the Haile Selassie, Jah Rastafari, Royal Ethiopian Judah Coptic Church. We are here today to celebrate and to upkeep the work of Ibrahim Traore, the president of Burkina Faso. We are in support of the president for the liberation of our black mother country, Africa. So while we are gathered here in support of Ibrahim Traore, the black liberator that may come in will be in coordination of Black Liberation Day. So that's why we are all gathered here today. The 30th of the month, that this month, April, is the month of the Rastafari month, that we have claimed proclamation in 2017 that this month must be recognized as the Rastafari month.
Jamaica is not an ordinary nation. They do have some ties with regards to the African continent. If you understand what slavery to an extent has done with regards to its global standing in different areas. So when Jamaican people are talking, they know what they are talking about. They understand the dynamics. They can feel it. They know where the air is blowing. The environment is murky according to them. So if you see people like this coming out and making this particular comment in regards to the events, geostrategic situation in the country of Burkina Faso, it tells you that the people are not sleeping. They are paying attention.
Blessed be the Most High Emperor Haile Selassie the First, Jah Rastafari. We are here today as African descendants in the diaspora. We are here supporting and our African leaders coming together in one unity to show love, to show peace, to show joy and happiness to Mother Africa once more. So we are here standing up for the rights of our people. The last year, Jah Rastafari.
What led to this gathering this morning?
It's just the fire that burned from colonialism.
Africa is at a crossroad at this moment. If you look across the region, situations that happen in Libya, based on historical information, the continent of Africa has not forgotten those particular events. That's the reason why the situation in Burkina Faso has woken external memories, has weakened the continent of Africa, has allowed countries that experience similar things regards to when this conversation started. As the international community is paying attention, Africa's geopolitical partners are observing. That's the reason why we see other people come out that you would not expect them to come and speak out their mind. Videos like this tells you even the local and common people who thought geopolitical environment and engagement was meant for international collaboration, partnership, and movement, it is something that's going to affect their life. For that reason, they are coming out and saying things like this.
I spoke officially for the son of Africa, Muammar Gaddafi. Today, I speak up, albeit not officially, for another son of Africa, Ibrahim Traore. They came for Gaddafi and killed him. They killed Sankara before that. Lumumba, they went after Samora Machel and many others of our revolutionary sons.
The continent of Africa is aware. It understands what the trends are. People are not just watching TV nowadays. They are paying attention. They understand what is happening around the globe. More importantly, we are currently at the information superhighway. You cannot hide those information anymore. It is vitally important that people scroll, look around, and check for information from their tablets, their mobile phones, a television, a lot of other devices that are being used to basically consume news. And you cannot imagine that each time there's this particular conversation in several areas, it's been missed. But nowadays, we've currently seen that the continent of African individuals, local professionals, people who've experienced this particular approach, these name callings, and what the results could be at times, are very upset, and they are coming out and making their interest felt. Let's play this clip.
We must not allow them to come after our son and brother Ibrahim Traore. He is leading a genuine African revolutionary liberation project. He wants to have control for all Africans over our natural resources. He wants Africans to be united, to have African sovereignty, not just political or military, but African economic sovereignty. They come after him not because of democracy or human rights or stability, but to destroy his liberation project. Exactly what they did with Gaddafi, exactly what they did with Sankara, what they did with Samora Machel, what they did with Nkrumah of Ghana, and many other sons of Africa. Today we must stand up, we must fight. Come with us to support the revolution in the Sahel region of our continent. Come to say no to imperialist forces of the West that keeps trying to maintain its hegemony and control over our continent. We must stand together.
The continent of Africa is at a crossroad at the moment as we see events across the region, looking at Sudan, thinking about the country of Democratic Republic of the Congo and Rwanda. More importantly, South Africa under tremendous pressure, Egypt, post-Iran, tariffs coming from the United States of America. It is just so much at the moment. The support that the continent of Africa used to receive have been cut off. For that reason, a number of countries across the region, they are seeking partners in Asia, specifically China, India, also with Russia, from strategic security issues and more importantly to also economic fundamentals. It is important that the United States of America to an extent is losing soft power across the region. Africans are paying attention, and to an extent they do not want to go back to that particular history that defined their development and growth, that impacted them to an extent where they had no voice in regards to their own particular future. For that reason, African countries are questioning the particular move that geopolitical partners are moving ahead. Africa can influence policy. It's clear the Russian-Ukrainian war was a clear indication on what impact that the continent of Africa can make, that African countries were placed under particular situation where they have to make decisions to choose between Russia or Ukraine, to an extent to make sure that those sitting on the fence came under tremendous pressure, as we saw Eritrea make a total decision in regards to voting down the United Nations Security Council's vote at that particular time and in favor of Russia. However, we saw South Africa that came under tremendous pressure, and that is also impacting the country of South Africa in terms of its economic development and growth. And we see the African Growth and Opportunity Act at the moment is on a life support. These are critical times in the content of African history. So if you see people coming out from Jamaica and former parliamentarians coming and speaking out, and officials who are from countries that have experienced this particular trend, make no mistake, Burkina Faso individuals, nationals, experts, and well-wishers of Burkina Faso are paying attention. It's a simple signal. It will not be business as usual at the way things were in the past couple of years or decades. It is vitally important that the continent of Africa is facing strategic challenges at the moment. But I assure you, the continent, despite its difficulties, is navigating the waters and figuring out how to stand in this global miracle environment where we call international community. The Burkina Faso people have come a long way. They understand what is happening. They have looked beyond the horizon. What they see is dark clouds, and that's the reason why they start questioning things before it happens. They understand what their natural resources has done to them for decades and centuries. They have battled one of the leading colonized nations that subjugated them for centuries, and they understand what this battle is. And some countries that have no idea on what colonization is, on what imperialism is, and more importantly, what colonized nations have gone through, they have no basic understanding. They might see the Burkina Faso people as just shouting and making noise, but they understand that when it works like a dog, when it squeals like a dog, to them, they can feel it that this is a dog, and they do not want history to repeat itself. That's why they are making the noise, like the former leader of the country of Gabon once said that, I want you to come out and make the noise. But in this case, no one is asking them to come and make the noise. They are feeling the heat. They understand the trend. That's why they are speaking out. I want to thank you for watching. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think in regards to the global commotion, regards to the country of Burkina Faso. What made you feel this has garnered international support and concern as a result of this, and also more importantly, why Africa is at a crossroad and is making choices that sometimes does not sit well with its geostrategic partner. I will be looking forward to meeting you soon in our next episode. Have a good day. Bye-bye.